I love this. I have a great friend who's in the film. There's a YouTube video on the Food Lies channel, Tara Couture, Healing the Land While Healing Yourself. She lays out the scenario. She says, you're looking at a oatmeal or a salad. It's death on a plate. There's just no blood. And people, the vegans, they try to opt out of the system. They try to remove themselves from this death. I mean, there's a whole other theory of like why they're trying to do this, trauma in the past, what their mindset is about this. But I think it's really sad that they think that they can opt out of this system of death just by not eating an animal, and which is the direct death. But you cannot ignore all the death that comes from growing your plant foods. And there's studies out of Australia showing the vast number, 25 times as many rodents die to produce the same amount of, if you're going grain compared to meat. We can look at, we're putting all this in the film because we have to attack this ethical component, because people, they think that they have the trump card. They're like, well, I don't like to kill animals. And we're kind of like, well, you're killing more animals. Sorry. And there's deaths from actually being ground up in combines. Like you said, there's ecosystems death just to create monocrop agriculture. We have to get rid of there's pesticides, runoff. There is death everywhere. Even when I talked to another great Australian farmer, when he clears a field, he does plants and animals. When he clears a field of wheat or something, there are thousands and thousands of starving animals, days and weeks after. So not just what's, chopped up, but their whole food source is gone. You took it all away, and now they just starve to death slowly. So vegans really don't like to address this stuff.
Well, I mean, they also too, think about like, my other favorite one I keep seeing people is like, you need to check your privilege. And it's like, I fucking love that one. I have never met a higher level of privilege than the vegetarians and the vegans. So what you're saying is that we live in such an evolved, such a rich society that you can basically eschew a food source that is fundamental to not only growth and survival. I mean, we didn't evolve to eat meat. We evolved because we ate meat. I mean, if you look at like some of the, and you were talking about, like when we diverged to monkeys, from Berkeley to Andy and Artie studies and like all that research. I mean, what was pretty amazing is that the first bipedals that they found were, found with, fruit bat droppings. So, I mean, we always thought that they were on the plains for the most part. They were also in forests. So why did they stand up? I mean, the thought was always like stand up to see danger. It was, so I mean, there's some really interesting stuff, but like, and then people are like, oh, well, they were down at the seashore. So then they were with DHA and they were eating things out of the sea. I mean, all these are confounding, but for the most part, like we didn't evolve to eat meat. We evolved because we ate meat. They started eating meat. The stomach shrunk, the brain grew. And for the most part, here we are millions of years later, arguing and belaboring points that like don't need to be argued and belabored because that is within our evolutionary science. And I think if you don't use, at least a little evolutionary biology on this stuff, you just sound like a fucking crazy person.